Order online at picassospizza.net.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Picasso's Pay the Bills post-game show here. Jake Micah, AJ Cebulski, Mike Partham, all live with you here as the Bills close out the old stadium, bringing in the new next year with a dominant win. Mitch Trubisky, game of his life out there against the New York Jets, 35-8. We're probably not going to talk a lot about this football game in general, what happened on the field. But we're going to talk a lot about AJ was at the stadium today, so his experience down there. And then we have a playoff matchup ready to go that we're going to get into a little bit, our early thoughts on there. So AJ, I want to start with you. Just kind of walk me through the experience of your day going to the stadium and what it was like being there for the final game today.
Yeah, it's funny because it starts with a tailgate, right? Always starts with the tailgate as Bills fans. The tailgating is the biggest emphasis. Not the biggest emphasis, obviously the game matters, but the game day experience starts with the tailgate. Got there around 1:30, and just kind of soaked it all in. Went with people that I grew up with. Maybe not people necessarily that I've tailgated with a lot, but people I know. Obviously we did a shot right before we entered or left to enter the game, and just kind of cheersed it up. Very emotional. A lot of people. That's when it really started to hit me. The music's playing. The one last kind of shot before we go in. It was a interesting game because it didn't mean anything. Like in terms of, I watched the end of the Texans-Colts game. I saw Fairburn hit that field goal to win the game. So I knew the 5 seed was out of the picture at that point. I knew the Chargers were going to lose to Denver. I knew the Bills are probably most likely going to be the 6th seed, which they are, playing Jacksonville here in a week. But in terms of the experience, admittedly, I did leave at halftime. But that was just because, again, I didn't. As a season ticket holder myself, I've been to so many games. I've had so many memories there. I saw, the national anthem, the shout song, the flyover, the where else would you rather be with the icons there that did that. So it was definitely emotional. I think the most emotional part, Jake, I told you, was seeing Trey White watch kind of the tribute video at the end of the game there. Josh Reed posted it to Twitter. This team means a lot to a lot of people. I basically gave up not my career. I mean, I wanted to cover the Bills, but I wanted to be a fan. And that's first and foremost for me. And that's what I chose to do. So to experience that as a fan meant a lot to me. And it's emotional. I think it's a crazy place. It's a safe space for a lot of people. It's sports. You get to be with your friends, people you don't know. You get to talk ball. Politics don't matter. Life doesn't matter. It's a good spot where memories were created, and I think it meant a lot to a lot of people. And I think, they sent it off in a good way. The red helmets were great. And Mitch Trubisky balled out. Like what a showing for the former Nickelodeon MVP. So it means a lot to me. It means a lot to many people in my life. It means a lot to people, that were there. And I was glad I got to witness that and be a part of something that I know will, prolong for, a memory I'll never forget. I'll cherish it just like many others will. And I'm excited for that new stadium. I'm excited for Jacksonville. But a special place for many, and I'm very grateful that I got to experience one last time to be in that building and live that moment. It was a very, very secure feeling to end it there in that stadium.
Well said, AJ. Beautifully said. I'm glad that you had such a impactful time there today. And I'm sure it was like that for many people there. Just all the different videos, the different tributes, everything you saw this week leading up to it today. I'm sure there's going to be days worth of footage of cell phone videos of people posting over tonight and tomorrow to pour through and see those people spending their time there. But it really was. It looked like a beautiful celebration of the stadium. The jerseys, they looked great on television. I'll tell you that it definitely popped. So I couldn't imagine how good it looked, and just probably jarring to see the red too from the stands for the first time in so long on top of the heads. It looked great though. I really do hope they put those back in the rotation and next year as part of the uniform options. But it looked like a beautiful time there, a beautiful celebration. Mike Partham, how are you doing? What was your opinion on this football game? How the broadcast handled it? What it looked like? What you've seen and heard from friends at the stadium? And then we're gonna start getting into some football because we're ready for. I'm raring and ready to go. It's playoff time now. We're down to the last couple minutes of football here in the regular season. So I'm excited to see where you guys are at with that too. But Parthi, how's your days? The experience start to finish here of the day in this game and everything about it.
I remember they cut into the game to start, and you could hear in the background the very loud, the rally cries of, hey, hey, and where would you rather be than right here, right now? You could clearly hear it through the broadcast. And then seeing the Twitter reports of all the old Bills legends going to the middle of the field for addressing the crowd one last time and getting to a nice Go Bills huddle one last time at midfield was very heartening. And being able to have a very decisive win with all these, players getting their bonuses from, yardage, touchdowns, touches, whatever, what have you. And being able to just, kneel it out and soak it in with the rest of the crowd while, Mr. Brightside plays. And I think the PA announcer, AJ, if you left at halftime, I believe, but the PA announcer, addressed the Bills fans one last time after the final kneel down, and then went off with the shout song. And then there was a tribute video to the Google Dallas Iris playing, which I hope they will put online for all of us to be able to watch ourselves. I mean, for a meaningless game, it was as enjoyable as it possibly could be. It's nice to know that our depth is a lot better than the worst team in the AFC or possibly even the league. Not officially, the Jets are not going to get the number one overall pick, but let's just give a shout out to the Jets. 17 games without an interception, and they're they did rest Breece Hall and maybe a few other guys, but our second stringers were no doubt better than their second stringers and maybe some of their first stringers. So they are who we thought they were.
They are who we thought they were.
So with that win and coupled with the Broncos
is in postseason form,
I know,
he's ready to go.
any excuse I have to get a clip in, why not? So with that win and the Broncos clinching the first seed by defeating the Chargers, who themselves were resting a few of their starters, that means it's like Endgame. It's like 14 million scenarios, and there's one scenario for the Bills to get back to Highmark Stadium, and that's if the Bills and the Chargers can make a run on the road for at least a couple of games, and then they could meet each other theoretically in the AFC Championship game, and they'll have to, brush off Highmark Stadium and say goodbye one last time for the right to go to the Super Bowl. My goodness!
Hopefully, all the seats are in place and everything's locked down.
They haven't hopefully, they haven't begun the demolition just yet. Put that off for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. Absolutely. But speaking of being at the stadium, we got Michael Bunt coming in here, who is live coming out of the stadium right now.
What's going on, guys? I just want to first start off by saying it was obviously emotional at Highmark Stadium today, but I don't know how AJ is sitting in his office at home when he was theoretically at this game earlier today. It doesn't make sense that this game just ended like 30 minutes ago and he's already home. But unbelievable, man. Just emotional.
Technology is amazing nowadays, but they got self-driving cars. Things just happen faster nowadays. You just got to keep up.
But I don't know what you guys have been talking about so far. If it's been more about playoff matchups,
give us the exact opposite. Just your experience at the stadium today, start to finish. What it was like there, the energy at the stadium, and how it's felt for you there, and just anything special about the day that you wanted to note.
Yeah, definitely special day. I'm not someone that's all into that type of stuff, but it was emotional knowing it's the last time they'll ever play there. I know AJ's probably going to make fun of me at some point for saying that, but like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like that's the last time we'll ever see a football game there. Like that's wild to me. I mean, the game itself was kind of a joke. We knew that the Jets were going to be a pushover, but there was moments like even at the end of the game, like people just started hitting the bleachers just for no other reason than like it's the last time they're gonna hit the bleachers. Like I'm talking, not on third down, but like 10 minutes after the game ended, people were just hitting the bleachers. Like it's like a lot of people hugging, a lot of people taking photos afterwards. It was one of those games where the crowd stayed, and normally in a blowout weather like this, it would have emptied out pretty early. But I couldn't believe how many people stayed until the final snap, and then even 10, 15 minutes after the game. So emotional. That's all I can really say. I'm excited about the new stadium. You guys know how I feel about going to new Highmark. But even if it wasn't like the saddest day for me, you could tell there's a lot of Bills fans that they're sad that they're going to be moving out of this building.
Well said, Mike. How's the walk right now? How are the vibes on the walk home? Fans feeling good? Is it emotional? Are you just cold?
It was really cold. It was freezing today. I'm not gonna lie. And my row was
it
extra
windy
cramped.
there? Was it like a windy day?
It might have been windy. I didn't really like notice extra wind or anything. I just
Doesn't even see the wind.
My toes were cold, which is something that like almost never happens to me at Bills games. So I don't know. Like it's one of those things where like I don't get the sense that people are overly optimistic about like what's going to happen in the next couple weeks here. It's more like it was more like this is the final game here at Highmark than it was anything like worried about what happened in the matchup or what's about to happen in the next month.
Yeah. Celebratory, it sounds like it was. Well, glad you guys had.
And I'm sorry about the noise. It's really loud here. I'll be gone. I'll be past this in a minute. But
you're just partying, Bun. It's all right. It is what it is.
I'm partying per usual.
That's just partying. Yeah. Having good times, a celebratory vibe down at the stadium. But it sounds like you guys both had great experiences there. It was a fun broadcast to watch. A lot of nostalgia throughout it. Tasker came on the broadcast, everything else. But now we know where we're at here with the AFC playoffs. We've been talking about it for weeks and weeks and months, what this matchups could be, and we've got it figured out, Partham. It is the New England Patriots hosting the Los Angeles Chargers, the Jacksonville Jaguars hosting our Buffalo Bills, and then the winner of the AFC North taking on the Houston Texans. So we've drawn the Jacksonville Jaguars. For Sean McDermott, it's going back to where it all started in the playoffs with the 10-3 loss after breaking the drought there. We were coming in a full circle way back there to start this would it say desperate playoff run? There's now what do you think? What is your initial feeling when you saw that we drew the Jaguars, and like what did you feel? Confidence? Were you worried? Like where are you at with this matchup going into it wild card weekend?
Without doing a deep dive on the Jaguars as of yet, as I'm sure we all will in the next couple of days, I mean, for a 13-4 team, I believe the Jaguars are relatively quiet. I don't know about you guys, but I never remember hearing the Jaguars making that much noise as far as games that they've won. I'm looking at their overall statistics: 12th overall in offense, 12th in passing, 20th in rushing. That's just their offense. I mean, I'm just getting started even as we speak. But between that playoff game and the who was the coach again? 9-6 that infamous game.
Oh yeah,
Urban Meyer. I want to forget his name, but we got to mention it. Just go over the ridiculousness of how that game went. If there was a house of horrors to the Bills, it would be Houston. But if there was a second house of horrors, I think in the recent decade or so, I think it would be Jacksonville. So I'm not sure. Yeah, obviously that was a different team back then. In 2017, they were 1 year away from getting Josh Allen, of course, and so I expect different results going in, despite the shortcomings of wide receiver and obviously the scary situations that we're going to have to hear about in the coming days about Matt Prater and Maxwell Harrison and so on and so forth. But I don't know about the vibes going into a game against Jacksonville. I would hope that there are enough ambivalent Jaguars fans that are going to sell off their tickets and we can get a whole section of Bills Mafia, drinking their town dry and buying up all their tables at Home Depot and so forth. But I just can't get a good feel for going into this game against the Jaguars with how the Bills are and how the Jaguars are. But I'm sure we'll do a bit of a deeper dive on Tuesday when we get our Jags preview on.
Yeah, we'll have some time to sit with the matchup there. AJ, how are you feeling about this right now? How are you feeling about the AFC picture as a whole? And Mike Partham, I think what you said there is really important to kind of the vibe we've been at all year. And jumping back to you, AJ, is that we're more focused on what the Bills are doing than everybody else because it's been a fight amongst ourselves a lot and just wondering what this team is going to be and the identity. I don't want to say crisis, but just they've had to find their way a couple different times through this year. So AJ, do you think it's more? Are you focused on the Jags going into this week? Do you think you're just focused on the Bills doing, what we think they should be capable of doing and just not messing up on their end and letting the chips lay where it is? Like, where do you think you fall on that end of the spectrum there?
Yeah. I'll say this. I think it's exactly what I thought was going to play out going into week 18. Like, I thought Houston would take care of Indy. They survived. Bills would play Jacksonville and the Chargers would lose playing their start or their backups against Denver and getting the 7th seed. So I think I'm worried about both things. I think the Bills, it's important what they're doing and how they've looked. And I think it's also important what Jacksonville is doing. They're a really good team. I think Liam Cohen's brought a source of energy, a source of belief into that locker room. Trevor Lawrence has played great football. Jacoby Myers, they just signed him to an extension. He's been playing very good for them. They still have Brian Thomas Jr., who was a 1,000-yard receiver as a rookie, had a little bit of a down year, but he had a decent game today. Parker Washington is another, really key player for them. Obviously, Travis Etienne's having a great year for them. So I think they have a very talented offense combined with a defense that Trevion Walker, Joshua Hines-Allen, and they also force turnovers. So I think I will say, going into the day today, I woke up and I said I'd rather play Jacksonville and Baltimore. And that's just because I just don't want to deal with the Josh and Lamar narratives. I'm sick of that.
More out of annoyance than
I'm sick of that conversation. And I also think the Ravens could turn it on at any time. Lamar Jackson is one of the best to do it. He doesn't have Trevor Lawrence doesn't have the ceiling of Lamar Jackson when Lamar's at his best. And Trevor Lawrence also hasn't proved it when it matters. So I think this is the second scenario I would have wanted. I would have rather played New England just because I think familiarity, and I don't think they do anything elite. I think they're a good overall team, but with a second-year quarterback and first-year head coach, I would have had a little bit more belief just because of the familiarity and what the Bills did to them in Foxborough just a few weeks ago. But in terms of this matchup, the Bills are going to have to bring their A game. Like, this team is on fire. Jacksonville's playing great football. They destroyed the Titans today. They've been dominating every opponent they've really faced. They've squeaked out a win against Arizona, but besides that, they've really played good football. And the Bills, again, they've just been that inconsistent kind of team. So I'm glad they avoided Baltimore at the end of the day. If they win tonight, who knows if Pittsburgh gets in. But again, it's a tough road ahead. And I think you saw some depth flash tonight. Whether that matters or not, I don't know. But I think the Bills, like I said, it all comes down, and Mike said it. We've all said it. Mike says it's about, Josh playing smart, under control. I think Josh Allen has to be spectacular. I think he's going to have to make the spectacular play. And obviously being under control is important, but I think he's going to have to go, not superhero mode, but I think he's going to have to come up with something special. Combined with that run game and hope the defense forces turnovers. So it's an interesting matchup. Not the matchup I prefer, but not my least favorite matchup. And we'll see what happens. It's going to be a 1.5 point spread. We all know that Jacksonville won't be favored by more than 2.5 points. It's going to be a pick 'em game going to Jacksonville. And we'll see. They beat Jacksonville. Anything can happen.
So a few more team statistics here that I've done my research on. Jacksonville 5th overall in scoring offense. And on the defensive side, they're the number 1 rushing defense in the league, 85.6 yards per game allowed this season. So that's going to be the Bills' offensive strength versus a big Jacksonville defensive strength. And AJ, you mentioned about their turnovers, 13 plus turnover differential. That's third best in the league. And they have 31 total takeaways. That's second best. So they're a team that can take away the ball, and they can stop your rushing attack if we're not on our game.
Absolutely. I don't think they've had a running back go over 75 yards in a game.
Yeah, I believe I saw that on social media
today, which could present issues with what we've seen from the Bills offense in games where the run game hasn't been able to get going. So it'll be fun to break down this matchup because it's a lot of strength on strength in this match where the Bills' pass defense is more effective than their run defense. Although the run defense has been making positive signs. The passing offense has been electric this year and Trevor Lawrence using his legs too will be a big part of this game too. And then the Jags rush defense being so strong against the Bills' top-ranked rush offense. And as we go into Sunday Night Football, before I pass it over to Mike Bunt to get his first reactions on the Jaguars matchup, James Cook 152 yards ahead of Derrick Henry right now. So if anything else, if you don't care who gets in Baltimore or Pittsburgh, you have to at least hope that Derrick Henry gets under 150 yards tonight and James Cook can win the rushing title, which hand up never would have guessed was in the possibility of all things happening this year.
Are you talking to me, Jake?
Yeah, Mike Bunt, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think Jacksonville is going to be an interesting opponent. I'll say this, like when things were playing out, I really wanted Pittsburgh to be the opponent because I thought that was going to be the easiest matchup. And then depending on what happens from there, you get an upset. You could shape things up positively for a run. Once Pittsburgh kind of no longer became a possibility because of the Houston win today, I'm not even worried about who they're playing. Like, at the end of the day, the Bills have to take care of them, what they do. They can't be worrying about who they match up against better or what happens. If they would have played Lamar, that would have been tough. You go up against Trevor Lawrence, that's going to be tough. New England, that's going to be tough. So, like, they gotta worry about themselves, and they're more than capable of beating the Jags and putting something together. But it's not going to be easy. Now, Partham did bring up a good point. We'll see how Jags fans come out to represent their team. Like, there will probably be a lot of Bills fans down in Jacksonville for this game. It has been a house of horrors for the Bills over the past. You think about the Tyrod year, 10-3. The Bills lost to the Jags in the playoffs in the 90s. None of that stuff matters, but like the Bills do have a bad track record against teams that play in the AFC South for whatever reason when it matters.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did they not lose to them not once but twice in London? I'm also remembering.
Twice in London, yeah.
But that's London, of course. That's just the going against the team, not so much the location.
But at the end of the day, we don't know what Trevor Lawrence is going to do when the moment gets under the brightest lights. This is a Jacksonville team that really hasn't played in a lot of big moments during Trevor Lawrence's career. They had one playoff game, and that was one that they collapsed. Well, no, wait. I always get confused. It was the Chargers that collapsed, or was it Jackson?
Well, the Jags came back, but it was Lawrence threw like 4 picks in the first half, and then Herbert decided to throw all his picks in the second half. It was a double collapse, and then somebody.
Yeah, but to like
That's the old Jags, man. Old Jags.
My opinions on this game, it could go either way. I'm probably gonna end up picking Jacksonville just because they're the home team, and the Bills have been inconsistent on the road. But if the Bills bring it, they can easily win this game. And it's so hard because it's what version of the Bills are you going to see? That's what it comes down to me. Like I told AJ earlier today, I think if anything the last few weeks showed, this team is it has a higher chance than not of losing early in the playoffs. But if they get past the Jags and then they play a team like the Broncos, who's to say that they can't get on a run? But I don't want to say that Josh has to be Superman in order to get the job done, because I don't think he needs to be Superman. I think he just needs to play within himself. And if he plays within himself, the Bills will have success. If he thinks he has to be something special and elevate his game to a unrealistic level, well, that's when the mistakes are going to happen. They'll lose games. I think we don't know enough about this Jags team. Yes, they're hot. Yes, they're on fire. But we don't know if that's going to translate to games that matter.
That's the case with the AFC in general too, I think, which is why this is going to be such a fun playoff, is to see who's real and who it like. It's a turnover, right? Like it's not a full changing of the guard, but a little bit, especially if, well, I guess even if it's Rodgers or Lamar, it still feels like there's just been an influx here. There has been an influx of that young talent, that next generation that's going to start pushing these guys. And the thing is, and this is something that I haven't wanted to say all year long, because I try to just see the total picture, and then when the playoffs come, you have to be bold and you have to decide what you feel about these teams and everything else. Sometimes the changing of the guard just happens and it's just over, and that's what it is. Like sometimes the new quarterbacks take over, the new stars and the NBA take over, the new NHL start. Like sometimes it does happen overnight, and maybe we're just going to be looking at divisional weekend and it's CJ Stroud versus Bo Nix and Drake May versus Trevor Lawrence, and everything's flipped upside down. It's very possible, and I think it's as possible as anything else. But like you said, Bunt, the Bills focus on themselves and play within themselves and avoid the mistakes that, as AJ has pointed out all year long, they've pretty much had this entire run in this regime with Josh Allen, with Sean McDermott, the same fatal flaws that they get to and the same kind of things. Then yeah, they're as talented, and the depth is definitely a thing. They're as talented as any of these teams that they're facing coming out. And I've gotten a couple texts as we're before we get on here, friends and family coming through, and they're like, "Man, Jacksonville scares me." Everything, XYZ, and that's fair. I think I think everybody would be scared of any matchup at this point because it just hasn't looked as pretty this year as anything else. But
they're also 12-5.
Also, Jacksonville is not excited about Josh Allen coming in for their home playoff game here. None of these teams would have been excited to see Josh Allen and these Bills coming in. And I think that's where you have to. One of my core football beliefs, Bunt, and everybody else here, is that the battle-tested team, like it really does mean a lot to be battle-tested in the league. And this team doesn't feel like it's been beaten down. Like it feels like they've battled back each year as a new group, and they feel fresh. It feels like a fresh group going into it more than carrying last year's issues into this year as much as anything else. I don't know. The matchup with Jacksonville, I think it's strength on strength. I really think it's going to be a mental. It is as much of the thing. If the Bills play their own game and play mistake free, they have a chance to beat any of these teams in this entire field. And so I think it's a them against them thing where they're
well, you know what the good news, Jake, is? The good news is this: you beat Jacksonville, unless you see a crazy upset with the Chargers over New England. You're not playing New England until an AFC championship. So in that type of mode, I know a lot of people say they would rather play New England versus other teams. But what better time to play New England if you do end up facing them in the playoffs than to play them in an AFC championship with a chance to get to the Super Bowl?
Could you imagine, bro? Could you imagine facing the Patriots to go to the Super Bowl in Foxborough? Oh my
that Diggs photo would go so hard.
Oh my God. Yes, it would. You know what? If that's the full circle for that, the Bills make the Super Bowl because they
if the Bills play the Patriots in the AFC Championship, we're going to be hiring private investigators to leak all the details of what happened in that alleged incident, because he gets arraigned 2 days before the game happens.
That's right. Oh my God!
You get photo evidence of something like that leaked, you could get him suspended before the game.
Yeah, you're a lawyer at heart, Mike. You're a lawyer at heart.
I'm not. I'm just joking, but like seriously, like photos and videos are what get people suspended, not the actual alleged crime that they do.
It's very true. Allegedly. Would be a movie though. AJ, do you feel good about like? I want your honest opinion, not about the Bills, but the rest of this AFC, the way it's shaken out. Like, is there anybody to be scared of at this
No.
point, or is it
No.
it's just
No, and no.
anybody can go through here?
Yeah, that's the thing that that's the funny thing is we were talking, me and my buddy were on the way in today to the game, and like we were talking, and it's like if the Bills just had the team of like the last 4 years, they'd be Super Bowl favorites. Like this team would be they probably would have won the division. They probably would be hosting. They probably would be, the top seed in the AFC. So that's what's the hard thing. But no, I don't believe, because I haven't seen it, and Mike knows I'm gonna believe it. I need to see it to believe it type of guy. And I tell him that countless times. Like, I don't know if Trevor Lawrence can show up to the occasion. I don't know if Bo Nix has what it takes and that defense can perform when it matters. And I'm not saying the Bills, that's me saying I don't know if the Bills can either. Like, Josh Allen's had the ball the last 2 years down 3, and they haven't come through. The Bills' defense has had the opportunity to win playoff games when it matters, and they haven't come through with this regime and this coach. And some of the players, quite frankly, they still have some of the players on that defense that have fallen short. So, no, I don't really believe in anybody. It's just a matter of what team shows up when it matters. And I get Mike's point that he doesn't have to be Superman and he has to play within himself. But with the way the defense has been so bad in the first half, I think there's going to have to be a Josh Allen Superman moment throughout this stretch, whatever they do, in order for them to get over the hump. So,
AJ, do you think it's safe to say that they're going to need, if this is a run that they make, it's going to need both a game dominated by Allen, a game dominated by the run game, and a game where the defense plays above themselves to get to the Super Bowl? I think they're going to need one of each of those things.
100%. Yeah, I think there's going to be a game where the defense is going to need to make a timely turnover, like we saw against Cincy, like we saw in the New England game at points where, like we saw against Pittsburgh, right? That they showed up when it mattered. I think there's going to be a moment where Josh Allen's going to have to go Baltimore Ravens mode or New England Patriots mode at times late in the second half to win a game. And I think sticking to the run the ball. I guess I've not been against it, but I think running the ball with James Cook is your best offense. So I think all three things are going to play a role. And if one of those three things don't show up when it matters, that's probably what we're going to be talking about. I think it comes down to those three things. The defense not playing a consistent game or forcing turnovers, James Cook not running the football and the offense having no answers, or when it matters the most, Josh Allen falling short. And I think that's the three narratives and the three, like, not even narratives, the three things that are actually going to happen at some point in this playoff, where those three things are going to have to step up at some point in order for them to make that run they want and they desire to do with this coach and GM with a lot of pressure on them.
A lot of pressure. Even a report today yesterday from Jeremy Fowler in his end of season intel, coaching changes and everything else, that there's some, and this is gossipy scuttlebutt, NFL scuttlebutt, but discussion that teams are at least discussing the fact that if the Bills have a disappointing exit in the playoffs, that they would consider getting rid of Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane. So I don't know if that's just people speculating, and obviously it is speculation across the league, but the fact that it's being mentioned in an article on ESPN 2 days before the end of the season felt noteworthy enough to bring up on this podcast. And when AJ mentions the pressure on the team, and I want to talk a little bit about that pressure with you, Parthy, because how does this feel going into the playoffs compared to years past? Because it's obviously a way different scenario, right? Like the first year of the Allen experience, it's like, we're happy to be here. Who knows what's going to happen in this game against Houston? It's kind of the same thing when you win the division, like happy to be here, get to the championship game. But you really like, we were hoping to, but that we felt outmatched in that. And then the Kansas City trauma begins after that with the Bengals mixed in and all the expectation. This feels a lot different than any of those other scenarios. So does it feel different to you? Does it feel more or less stressful? Like, where's your head at with the Bills entering the playoffs from that perspective?
Well, like AJ said, it's about which team shows up, and I can tell you which one team that's not going to show up, and that's the Chiefs. So that presents us with a whole blank slate of scenarios, especially in a year where we had two or three teams with 13 wins in the AFC, but no one looks invincible. No one looks is without their flaws. The Bills have beaten the New England at least once this year. So, I mean, we've had a run of 4 or 5 years where the Bills have gotten booted out by the Chiefs. 3 of them were last-second heartbreakers, and each in their own way. 1 year was an exception where Damar Hamlin got the whole team shaken, and they just got blown out, even in their own home stadium. We kind of just discount that one, really. And going all the way back to 2019 in that Houston game, there were so many things that could have gone differently in that game that could have turned out different. And of course, it was Josh's first playoff experience. So now, having said all that and coming to this year, without the dragon to slay or the ominous cloud sitting over you in the form of the Chiefs, and not even worrying about the Bengals or even we may possibly have to worry about the Ravens somewhere down the line, depending on how the Sunday night game goes. But it seems like everything can happen. We could go into Jacksonville and blow them out. We can go into Jacksonville and they could blow us out. We know that the Broncos aren't, an all-timer team, and they seem to have their problems with a charge. Not problems with, but I mean, a 19-3 score is decisive, but it wasn't exactly the most dominable win. The way the Bills' second string was running over the Jets today, and the Broncos were indeed going all out to get the first seed. So it seems like the Broncos are beatable, the Chargers are beatable, the Steelers are beatable. But with the way the seeding worked out, the Houston scenario, that wouldn't happen until the AFC Championship game, I believe, with how all the seeding works out. But they're a team that I would be afraid of because they've won 9 in a row. They're the hottest team in the NFL essentially, and Houston, like I said earlier, has been a house of horrors for the Bills in recent years,
Absolutely,
recent seasons even. So there's teams that I would worry about. There's teams I would not worry about, and there's teams that I have no, feeling on one way or another. But the overall picture of, who is the pressure on them without the Chiefs there, without, going up against another star quarterback that's as good or even possibly better than Josh Allen. If they can't even reach the AFC Championship game this year, then I don't know if that would be the axe for Brandon Beane. I think Sean McDermott is safe. I think if one of the other guys were more likely to make a change, go in a different direction, as they say, it would probably be Brandon Beane, even though he's had his hits and misses as far as personnel drafting and free agency goes. But it seems like everybody's been saying, this is a wide open AFC. Well, the Bills are part of that wide open AFC because they have their strengths and weaknesses too. So if they can't make a deep run in the playoffs, then I think Terry Pegula might have to take a serious evaluation as far as how they're going to utilize the front office as far as, the rest of Josh Allen's career goes, because that's what you're really banking on is, are you going to be able to maximize your, all-time star generational quarterback to the best of his ability?
Jay, can I chime in real quick?
Yes.
Yeah.
You talked about a few weeks ago, or maybe last week, having no expectation. And I know I've been pretty down on the team this year, and honestly, I felt like it hasn't been a fun year for me as a fan, in terms of just how it's went, the ups and downs and the disappointing losses. I'm gonna say it right now, I'm going to go into whenever they play Saturday, Sunday, Monday night. I'm going to go in with confidence with Josh Allen at quarterback in the playoffs, and I'm going to pick them in the wild card. I'm going to go opposite Mike because usually here's the thing with Mike. So here's the thing, because Mike's going to pick against the Bills. So my theory is if I pick the Bills, one of us has to be right. So because if I went with Mike and I picked Jacksonville, we'd probably both be right about Jacksonville, and then we'd both be like, oh my God, we knew about this team. But I have to, for the sake of not just proving Mike wrong, but I have to pick Buffalo because I do think, you said you have no expectation. I have no expectation, right? It feels kind of good to go into the playoffs as a 6 seed in playing a Trevor Lawrence that's never proven himself and just being we have Josh Allen and the best rushing attack in football. Let's prove it. So that's where I do feel a little bit more positive going into it now that it's all played out and the 17 games are over. They handled business today, whatever. It didn't really matter. But I think just knowing they have Josh, knowing they have a good rushing attack, knowing the defense has played better as of late, I don't really have an expectation. And I think Partham's right. Now, I do disagree. I think Bean and McDermott are tied at the hip. I think they're both gone if one goes. But I think anything short of an AFC Championship appearance is a disappointment in a year where the team that was your kryptonite is in Cancun. That's just where I'm at.
Heck, send
like
them
that.
to Galveston. Don't send them to Cancun.
Yeah, they don't even get to be in Cancun.
Yeah, they do. They do. They do. They're a dynasty. Come on. They deserve to be there.
As you say that, I'm seeing on social media the Jaguars are opening as a 1.5 point underdog at home to the Bills. So, Bunt, you are the Vegas expert. What do you think that entails or indicates?
That's concerning to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's very concerning.
Oh, no.
Because I put myself in the heads of your normal gambler, and what are they thinking? Trevor Lawrence, unproven, has limited playoff experience, or Josh Allen, who's been very, very good in the playoffs. Your average gambler that has no ties to either team is going to pound the Bills. And that's the problem.
How high do they think they need to set the line for the Bills then? 3, 4?
I
that
think,
you feel good? Because 1.5, I feel like it's like.
I think, and I could be wrong. This is just how I'm choosing to interpret it. I think as long as the line is anything that's Bills are favored by 3 or less, people are going to pound the Bills because of Josh Allen, and that concerns me in this game, because 1.5 points is telling me if it's Bills are favored by 1.5 and the people pound the Bills with the money, that means Jaguars are probably going to win the game.
I don't
and if we're being honest with each other, there's only one reason why anybody would pick the Bills to win this game, and that's because of Josh Allen. The Jaguars have a very good run defense. If they can stop the Bills' run game, that sets up to what the Bills' biggest weakness has been, and that's been capitalizing on offense without their run game executing. This game is going to be in Jacksonville. It's a team that can throw the ball around. They have playmakers. I don't know if this Bills defense is going to be up for the challenge. It's not that the Bills can't win this game, but I'm not going in with any expectations. And I would have felt not great about us playing New England either, to be honest with you, because we played 2 games against New England, and one we needed a 21-point comeback, and the other one we made a million mistakes at home. The Bills are one of those teams where if they get past Jacksonville, they could take it to the Super Bowl, or they could lose in the first round by 20 points. And
Mike, stop being a homer, dude.
But I told AJ on the phone today. He talks to everybody. AJ must talk to like 5 different people on his rides to Bills games. I don't know how long.
I did not call Jake today.
I don't know how long it takes to get from Angola to the stadium, but it's definitely not like 3.5 hours. But
you never know. That traffic on 20 gets a little.
It does, yeah, the traffic on 20 does get a little. Yeah, it does get a little bit.
And you know what? And I hope I'm wrong. Like it's not that I don't think the Bills can win. It's that I don't know if they have enough. And
that's fair, man. I've been there all year.
And this is, and
can I say this? Can I add this?
Let's Jake optimistic. Let's go, Jake. Come on.
I just want just one thing about the offense that you have to feel at least a little bit better in, because those games that Houston game sticks out, the Falcons game sticks out. Dalton Kincaid 10-2 this year when he's playing, and he looked pretty healthy today. And they got him out of there, but he looked like he wasn't laboring in the snaps that he got. A nice little catch along the sidelines and everything. They will be at whatever full throttle is offensively for them in the passing game. We know they need that guy on the field, and he will be on the field for that game in Jacksonville. And I think that presents at least my biggest sense of optimism for it doesn't have to just be Josh Allen being Superman offensively if they can't get the run game going, that maybe they'll be able, with the little bit of Brandon Cooks adding, like clearly that. How highly do they think of Brandon Cooks? He's the guy who got to sit today, bro. They're like, Brandon Cooks is safe for our playoff roster. Get your rest, buddy. You're wide receiver one now. Like,
I don't
it
know
wasn't
why
Khalil Shakir.
I don't know why the Bills decided to play their best quarterback in a meaningless game.
Yeah, you tried to stir the people up. I saw you on there. There's some
the Harrison injury, the Prater.
That was the best game
by
the Bills quarterback the entire season.
The Prater thing, though. Can I? Is this? I don't know if this is a conspiracy. If I'm going too conspiracy driven here, but they're up 21-0 at halftime. They know the Jets are not trying to win this game. Do you think they said, Matt Prater, we know you've been hurt. You're just not playing. We don't need to kick anymore. Like,
you're probably right.
Like, do they didn't?
Did they really need to invent a re-injury just to say
he was already on the report with the injury. So now it's gamesmanship. Now this week Jacksonville doesn't know who's going to kick the ball. Like, is it going to be?
Yeah, Liam
Cohen's
going to be so concerned about the Bills kicking.
He might be. No, their kicker hit a 67-yarder today. He's not concerned about the kick game.
Jake, it's going to be like Tyler Bass coming. He's going to come out of the upside down. He's going to come out of the upside down and run through and just start kicking.
Oh man, that'd be electric. Tyler Bass just comes back for the playoff.
Stranger Things.
Maybe Ray Davis. Ray Davis adds another.
Well, they didn't even let Ray Davis attempt to kick today in the meaningless game that was amounted to a preseason game. They just went for 2. Maybe they're saving him for the playoffs. I don't know.
Ray Davis had a day today. Over 150 rushing yards. He had like 30 receiving yards.
He did.
Mitchell did have a great day, and I think that I honestly think part of it is a universal yin and yang with the Chicago Bears, because Caleb had a horrible day up until the fourth quarter where he almost brought them back. But I think the only one thing that happened.
The Bears lost.
The Bears did lose, but the Eagles also lost, so it's still Bears 2 seed, Eagles 3 seed there. But the Eagles didn't try to win. They had Tanner McKee starting, so the Bears, it didn't look great for them. But all right, let's wrap up here. Bunt, AJ, then Parthy. Just as we've talked through it a little bit here, what's your final thoughts on the day, the experience of the last game of the stadium for you two guys, and then we're heading into a playoff run with another chance at the Super Bowl here. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll start with the day and then talk about playoffs quickly. I already said emotional. At one point, I almost had a tear come from my eye, but then I remembered that I told AJ that I'd be a loser if I cried during this game. So I decided to get my shit together, and I decided to not cry in that moment. I did have to take 2. I did have 2 takes on my recap video. I'm normally a 1-take wonder, but I did have a second take because I lost my train of thought in the moment. So, yeah, I guess I do have somewhat the presence of a heart inside of me at times, which I guess was eye-opening to myself. But as far as like playoffs, all that stuff going, I'm going to kind of like repeat what I've said the last month, but to a little bit different extent. For last month, I've said I feel as good about their Super Bowl chances this year as I have in previous years. I don't know if I completely agree with that as much anymore. What I will say is this: the paths are there for them to go on a run. If they get past Jacksonville in the first round, I'm going to pick them against Denver in the second round. I'll pick the Bills to win the divisional round. But my biggest fear is the Bills have not played a team the caliber of the Jaguars in a wild card game since 2019, 2020 season when they played the Texans. This is not your typical AFC wildcard matchup for the Bills. Normally they're the 2 seed, they're the 3 seed. They're playing some shit team that's lucky to make the playoffs, and they normally control the game. The Bills need to come out. They need to start playing. They need to play well. And against the Jags, they've been lighting teams up offensively. If the Bills fall behind like 14-3 in a game like this, it could be the precursor to them getting blown out. And And that's my biggest concern. They cannot get off to a slow start against Jacksonville. Now, the reverse can be said too. If the Bills jump out to like a 14-3 lead or something like that against Jacksonville, that could be the little like lightning bolt that they need to catapult into a run. And there's still part of me that believes that playoff Josh Allen is going to make an appearance, and that there's things that not the Bills have been holding back, but maybe things that they will refine or they will clean up for the playoffs. And maybe that this week will be helpful in them doing so. A lot of people mentioned today how Mitch was throwing the ball all around the field and that was the best the Bills passing game has looked all season. And they were like, why haven't the Bills done that with Josh? And I think the funny thing is this. 99% of it is the New York Jets just fucking suck. And
I was going to say.
They're so bad, bro.
It was like playing Ohio Bobcats football.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd say that. That's a team that averages 10 wins a year.
Same colors.
And I think they get their description once in a while, too.
7 consecutive bowl wins for the Bobcats.
Aaron Glenn might be more.
I think the Jets could win a bowl game. I think they could win.
But yeah, I think the Jets could probably hang with Kent State. But what I would say is this: a lot of people they complain about the receiver screens and the short yardage passes and everything the Bills offensively do. I think a lot of the reason why the Bills do that stuff is them outthinking themselves. Like today, why did they have success beyond the whole like the Jets stink? It's because they kept it pretty simple. They ran the ball. They did play action, and they really didn't try to outsmart themselves. They knew they were playing with backups, so they played a pretty simple level of football. I think sometimes they feel like they have to reinvent things with their receiver screens and some of this other stuff. Maybe the answer to the Bills having some success in the playoffs is let's not overthink it. Let's go out there, play some ball, and see what we can do. What I'll say is this: round one is a 50-50 game. The Bills are either going to lose in the wild card round or they're getting to at least the AFC Championship. And if they get to the AFC Championship, I'm picking them to go to Super Bowl. So right now, call me the biggest negative person because I'm picking the Jaguars to win in the first round. But if they get past it, you're going to then be calling me the biggest homer because a week from now, after we talk about the Bills win or loss, assuming it's a win against Jacksonville, I'm picking them to go to their first Super Bowl since 1994.
I like it. Somewhat of a bold hedge from Mike.
I was going to say,
very bold hedge.
A bold hedge. I like it.
Very bold hedge.
AJ.
For me, yeah. I think the message with me, in my mind, and I think with the team, and I think that's what you have to drill into this team, is you have experience. I think that's the key word going into this playoff run. Josh Allen's been there before. The offensive line's been there before. The receivers have been there before, besides maybe Joshua Palmer, but he still played in meaningful games. Shakir's been there. Shaver's a little younger, but he still was part of this team last year and was, he was around, right? He was in this locker room in this, during practice all week. Dawson Knox has been there. Dalton Kincaid's been there. He's had those moments where he's fallen short. So, and obviously defensively, there's a lot of guys that have been there, especially with the older veterans that have made an impact this year. So I think the message for me would be across like all the players and the coaching staff would be experience. I think that is the key for me. And that's where I'm at. They're going to have to prove that their experience can carry them to somewhere that maybe Bills fans are questioning, but I think a lot of national people think it can happen. I think that's kind of the weird thing is I think a lot of national people do believe that Josh Allen is capable. And I'm not saying Bills fans don't, but I think national media is a lot higher than the Bills and the local Bills fans are. But I think that's the thing is experience riding on that, going into Jacksonville with a fan base that you could probably maybe get 30% of fans there, right? Bills fans. You could not take over the stadium, but I think you could make it loud and make an impact. So I think you got to go to Jacksonville. We'll see what happens there. I'm not going to go on a limb and say I'm picking them in the divisional or AFC championship, but I think it starts with Jacksonville. That's obviously the most important thing, and ride that experience out. Force Trevor Lawrence into mistakes. Let Josh Allen be Josh Allen. Utilize the run game to your advantage, and get out of there with a win. Joe Brady, it's a big playoff for him and the narrative surrounding him. It's a big narrative for Brandon Beane and what he's done and how he's built this roster. It's a huge narrative for Sean McDermott and how the defense has looked in the most meaningful game. So a lot of things in the line here, but experience is the word I'll use for this team if they want to get it done when it matters most.
Anything that they may have been holding back, and obviously the narrative with the Chiefs the last few years is they hold back plays, we hold back plays. They design their team, we design their teams to beat each other. Well, that's all out the window right now. But anything as far as telling Josh, take it easy, take care of yourself. Don't go too crazy unless we have to win the game because we're down by 2 scores or whatever. That's all out the window now. It's got to be full balls to the wall, Josh Allen. Try to chuck it down the field if you can, if you have to. Run for every first down if you need to until they start respecting it so you can open up some things down the field. There's no reason to hold back the playbook. There's no reason to hold back the players. There's no reason to hold back Josh anymore. So that's the one caveat that I have that may be a positive for the Bills going into this postseason. As far as Jacksonville, Tony Khan, we coming for you, sucker. So let's just get that attitude.
That's right.
Mike, Partham,
right.
your emblem or your motto for the playoffs is don't hold back. That like mine's experience. Partham's don't hold back. Bunt is win the wild card, and I'll pick you to go to the Super Bowl. Jake, what you got?
Make me look bad, and then I'll say good things about you.
Yeah.
Mine is find a way. That's
Find
what
a
I'm
way.
doing. Just find a way. Find a way to win these games. It speaks a lot to the experience, but just if you would have told me before the season, and this season has changed a lot of my opinions, but these teams were all potential playoff teams. Like even the Patriots, like we were like best case scenario, schedule's bad, Vrabel fixes them. We didn't think they'd win the division and win 13 games. We all had saw a scenario where they could be good. If you would have told me the road to the Super Bowl is Trevor Lawrence, Bo Nix, and Drake May, I would have laughed and said the Bills are 100% going to be in the Super Bowl. So I just think against those guys who are all unproven in their own ways, and you are the team that everybody has been looking to knock off and will be looking to knock off. And mind you, what I don't like the most about that betting line starting is that Liam Cohen can start his underdog. I already saw a Jags fan say the small market teams, small market things, because they got mad about that a couple weeks ago with the Denver. It's like it's the Bills and the Jaguars, bro. We're not going to use that, but they're going to find a rallying cry. That's what Liam Cohen does. They're underdogs now. Nobody believes in us team, all that stuff. But find a way. You can beat all these teams if you're the Buffalo Bills. And if they don't, then I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, and we'll talk about it at length throughout the offseason. There's a lot of looking in the mirror the whole organization has to do at that point. So no pressure at all. But I think I feel pretty confident going into this run, no matter who they were going to face in this first round. I feel pretty good about it. As long as they play their game, they're going to be tough to beat as much as any of these other teams will be. But we'll break it all down on Tuesday again. Thank you, Mike Bunt, for joining us on your trek to your car. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, Mike Partham. Shout out to our sponsor, Picasso's Pizza. Get your Picasso's Pizza anywhere in Western New York and nationwide at PicassoPizza.net. Go Bills. One thing left to do is go win the whole damn thing. That's it.